morning are four beautiful ladies. And, they are from An-Nisa. And we're going to talk about An-Nisa, a great nonprofit organization that does a lot of work in our community right here in Houston. And I'm excited because this is the first time and I'm getting to meet them and talk to them and share a lot of information and learn about all the work that they're doing. So let me introduce Safra Khan. She's the marketing director. Hi, Safra.
Hi.
Sadaf Patel, preventive education director.
Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Marina Khan, advocacy and outreach coordinator.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
And Nafis Ali,
Hello.
advocacy program coordinator. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How's it going? How was your weekend? Let's start with Nafis.
It was a lot of fun with my kids' summer.
Oh,
so
good.
They're keeping me busy.
That's good. How about you?
I had a great weekend. It was my mom's birthday, July 16th.
Happy
So
birthday.
she's going through some, slight dementia and stuff. So my brother came in from out of town and we had a big celebration and it was really beautiful.
That's great.
Thank you for asking.
That's great. Safra?
It was good. I mean, I spent it with some of my best friends, so we reconnected after so long. It was such a great weekend, but the heat definitely put a damper on our plans for sure.
So I see such a nice smile on you. You really had a good weekend. With friends, it's always the best.
Always.
Yes. Marina?
I had an amazing weekend. I got to spend my 2-year anniversary with my husband. So we just enjoyed. We took a pasta class. We ate a lot of food, and it was awesome.
Wonderful. So everyone had a great weekend.
Yes.
So ladies, let's begin with a brief introduction of yourselves, the role you play in the organization and, what inspired you all to do all this selfless work?
So I think I'm the one, I just started with An-Nisa less than a year. And I started off with the youth program that they are offering. I was really impressed because I felt like, our youth is our future, so they definitely need some help, a lot of help, direction, I felt like I didn't have growing up. So I was really impressed. And so I reached out to BB and I joined the team. And then, the program An-Nisa is now growing so much that there's advocacy team and other much more that they're doing. I have started working with advocacy team just recently, so I'm still learning.
Yeah. So my name is Sadaf. What I do is I was the director of case management, domestic violence case management when I started. Well, I've been a volunteer with An-Nisa for a long time, but when I started working there as domestic violence case management, and then now I'm prevention education because we realized that the statistics of DV are not improving at all. No matter how much we're helping bring the clients to self-sufficiency, it's still getting worse. So prevention is so important because we have to beat the cause, the root cause, and we have to help people understand what a healthy relationship looks like more than fixing the unhealthy relationship. So now we're doing both, and I think it's making a huge difference.
Wow, well said.
So my name is Safra. I'm the marketing director for An-Nisa, and actually I've been volunteering with An-Nisa since I was like maybe 15 or 16 years old because, fun fact, my mom is the founder of An-Nisa. So I have been volunteering since I was 16. I started off just kind of like as a regular marketing volunteer. Then as I grew up, after college, all of that stuff, I was like, okay, I don't want to leave because I think working at An-Nisa is just one of those things where it's so fulfilling to do, right? So you wake up every morning, you know that you're making a change in the lives of people who actually really, really deserve it, right? So I'm going on almost 12 years of being a part of An-Nisa. So, I just I can't get away from it. I don't want to.
I don't think An-Nisa wants you. You're stuck.
Safra, you just gave away your age too.
Oh, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm good.
How about you, Marina?
So my name is Marina. I am the outreach and advocacy coordinator. I got a call from Safra last November, and she was like, "Hey, do you want a job at An-Nisa?" And I was like, "Sure." And it just worked out perfectly because I was looking for a job, and advocacy is our new department. And what we're trying to do is just spread awareness about certain topics that's really important. And it is such a fulfilling job, and I love it. I have no complaints. Like, I love going to work. I'm surrounded by such strong women, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah, it's so great to see women do this kind of work. And I think like as women we can relate to so many issues,
Yeah.
especially in our community. So it's so great to see all of y'all, doing that sort of work and making that difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did the organization get started?
Okay. So, actually, the organization was founded back in 2009.
Okay.
It was founded by two very, very impressive and strong women who basically just wanted to make a change in the lives of women. So, it was just a random, we went to a mosque, we attended a lecture, and the lecture was about domestic abuse. And my mom, who was the founder of the organization, was looking around the room, and she had personally said that I knew so many women in that room who were being abused and who were not speaking up about their abuse. And she said that in that moment, that was when I knew that we needed to make a change here. So 2009, July of 2009, my mom took our home that we were actually living in, converted it into a shelter, and that was the start of An-Nisa. We started off as just a women's shelter for victims of domestic violence. So we, they used to come and live. It was just kind of like a transitional home. We got them all of the help they needed, and then we sent them on their way after they had found that safety. It was about a year after that we found out, we were like, okay, the community needs so much more than just like a shelter, right? So after that, we just converted our services. We still did domestic violence case management. Then we realized, okay, people are hungry. We opened up a food pantry. Then slowly, it's been 14 years now, and we have now about 5 different branches. So we have case management, we have mental health care, we have advocacy, we have the strong youth program, we have education, we're like a jack of all trades kind of organization. And I think we always say that An-Nisa does what the community needs.
Yeah.
And so it's, recently we've started doing community fulfillment as well, which is basically just assisting refugees that are coming in and just looking for a happier life. So we're here to assist them with resettlement and all of that stuff. So I would love to say that we just kind of stick to one thing, but we really don't.
Because our mission is crisis, bringing families out of crisis.
Right.
So we are following our mission, right? Because our
Right.
mission is, and so whether it's a widow or somebody who's lost their job, they're also in crisis, right? It's not just domestic abuse. So we're there to help them. We have a whole financial case management department where we work with people who have lost their jobs or widows who've lost their husbands. And, it's just all different, and refugees, like Safra said. It's just a lot of different things that need that attention, and they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And touching from what Safra said, like when Bibi said that all of those people were going through abuse, that's still the case. That in the Muslim community, it's very hard for people to come out and talk about, because it's always been considered that domestic is inside the home. So not only the person inside the home that is going through the abuse, it's hard for them to talk about it. But then somebody else also, when they see it, they also won't, like, if you see somebody in the street hitting somebody or they'll call the police. But in the home, even if you hear about it, you'll be like, okay, it's none of our business.
Right.
We shouldn't say anything. So that crime, actually, it's a crime that's being committed, but it's not vocalized like it should be.
Right.
So we need things like An-Nisa Hope Center that is a safe space for people to come and talk about what the problems they're having, become empowered to be able to deal with those problems, not only physical empowerment in terms of like financial, but also mental health. which is a big thing because trauma is huge. We've recently become trauma informed, and it's, our counsel, we're constantly being trained on trauma informed counseling, trauma informed case management, because you don't realize, and that's again, I'm going to let Marina speak about the bill later on, but it's so important for judges and for everybody to realize what trauma does. Do you know what trauma does to somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is, it just shatters that person. That
Ye-
person goes through depression.
Yes.
And it leads to so many other, it affects the entire family.
It affects it, and also it makes you shut down.
Yeah.
It makes you lose your personality. And so a lot of times, even in court or even like when they're speaking, you're thinking, what, she doesn't know what she's talking about, or what is she, why is she repeating, why is she forgetting? But it's not her, it's that trauma
Correct.
that's causing her to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, we're really, I feel like we're really privileged that we have something like An-Nisa, and that we
Yes.
can work with An-Nisa, and we need the community to work with us to just, bring all of these issues out,
Yeah.
and to try to, like, that's why prevention education is so important. Like, we
Yes.
started prevention education. We're going around to, like, mosques, we're going around to community centers, we're going around, and we are actually doing presentations on communication, active listening, conflict resolution, and we're teaching simple tricks, simple steps for people to have better, because the biggest relationship breakdown is communication.
Yes.
People don't know how to communicate with each other. They have expectations that they never communicate. Like with couples, right? They'll have these
Right.
expectations. Oh, she should know that. We're seeing marriage breakdowns after 20 years. Why? Because they assume that she should already know this, but they've never communicated that expectation. And so what's happening? Breakdown. Oh, why didn't she do this? Why didn't he do that? He never. And when the children are older and they're out of the house, guess what? You have to deal with each other. So all of these things are so important, like teaching, and even middle school and high schoolers. Like, we're planning with prevention education, we're planning to go out and teach schools emotional social learning, which is so important because these children, and both parents are working, you don't have that time to sit down and teach children empathy, teach them emotional intelligence. And in schools, there's no time anymore. They're so
No.
busy, like, getting that STAR test result, getting
Yes.
those things. So it's just like children are not building their characters. So our counselors and our caseworkers are gonna go out, and we have a whole curriculum that BB Khan has created, and it's amazing. Like, we've gotten such amazing feedback. People have come up to me after presentations and been like, this helped me so much. There was this 28-year-old that came up to me after a presentation, and he said to me, and this really was profound for me, because he was like, I had such a bad relationship with my mother, because I always thought I was never enough for her. And he was like, I always, one day he was like, he was 30 actually, and he said, when I was 28, I went to my mom and I was just like to her, how disappointed are you that none of your kids are doctors and lawyers? And she said to me, what do you mean? I'm happy that you're doing whatever, that you're successful and you're doing what you want to do. And he said, that was a shock for me. I never knew that she was okay with the fact that I wasn't a doctor or lawyer, because that's who she was always comparing me to while growing up. So until I was 28, I always felt like I was never enough for my mom, because she never communicated that to me. And he's like, after your presentation today, now I understand how important it is to like communicate everything.
Yeah.
So it's like these little things, right? Like, we think that they're little, but their impact is profound.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's also the culture, right? We are brought up that way.
Right.
It's for generations, right? Our grandma taught, my mom, and my mom is teaching me, and I'm passing the same thing. So we are not changing that, right? We are like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, especially for us women. We are brought up that way, saying, like, okay, you educate, you get your education. Once you get married, it's your family. Family first, husband first, kids next.
Everything else.
Don't
everything
speak
else,
up.
right? So, and then you forget about yourself. You're
Yes.
totally forgotten. Even for like our health.
Yes.
For instance, we don't think about our health unless we are sick. We go to the doctor, but we
Yeah.
don't think, oh, we should go
Prevention.
exactly. So it's all of that, the communication, breaking that, that norm,
Yes.
which is within our
Absolutely.
culture, and talking about it amongst friends too.
Yes.
You know, how many times we have girls' night, and yeah, it's great to have a great time, but talk about things that do matter.
That matter,
Yes.
absolutely. And so I think that's something that actually An-Nisa stands for. A lot of times when we discuss what An-Nisa does, it's essentially just ripping the Band-Aid off of very, very difficult discussions that happen in our own homes. And what we're actually trying to do with our whole prevention program is teach people that prevention is better than cure in a very
Yes.
culturally sensitive way, that kind of just appeals to South Asian homes, to Middle Eastern homes, because I feel like we're the ones who have a lot of cultural trauma, right?
Yeah.
And this is going generation after generation, just like you said, right? So if we can be the ones to kind of break that generational cycle and say, okay, stop, we're going to start doing things differently in a more healthy and non-toxic way, with boundaries that are set up, with communication that's healthy, like that's really all we want, especially
Correct.
with all of our 2023 programs, for sure.
And we're very cognizant of the fact that people won't just come to us, right? So that's why we've created an engaging men and an engaging women's team. And what that is we have men from all over the community who we've trained on domestic violence, on being aware of like what red flags are, on how to start a conversation with the abuser and the abused. So this is another thing. I know it's going to sound very controversial, but we believe in engaging with the abuser as well, because I don't know if you know, 7 to 9 times women go back
Right.
before they actually leave a situation. So if they're going to go back, sometimes it can be worse for them, right? Because once they've left, the abuser knows. So what we try to do is, if they want to go back, with their permission, we try to see, can we talk to your husband? Can we talk to, and can we bring him in? And so we have this roadmap program where we work with both the husband and the wife, and we talk about what caused the breakdown in your relationship. We have goals that we set up, and then we put them, like, once we talk about boundaries. A lot of times, like, how many people in our community have boundaries, and we don't even realize when we break those boundaries, and that's what causes a breakdown. So we work with them on their goals. It can be communication, it can be boundary setting, it can be conflict resolution, and we put them in marriage counseling, we put them in parenting classes, we put them in anger management, whatever is needed for their roadmap to success. And we've had like a 90 something percent success rate.
Wow.
Those families, we had a client that was being beaten by her husband. Usually if it's very like abusive and it can't work, we don't even go there, because both parties have to be willing to change. In this situation, both parties were willing to change. Both parties wanted to work. It's been 5-6 years. They are living a happy life. And the way we got to them was their son was 11 years old, and he called Bibi from his school that, please save my mom before she dies.
Oh, wow.
So anything's possible, and we try to, we were, a lot of times people are like, oh my God, like, how do you converse with the abuser and this and that. But you know what? I've seen that ostracizing them, taking them out of the community, makes it worse, because then they have nothing to lose. And that's what leads to homicide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If the mosque is ostracizing them, the family is ostracizing them, the community is ostracizing them, what happens?
Yeah.
Instead, we've trained these engaging men to identify these kind of men in the mosque, in the community, and be like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? I've seen you becoming angry lately. I've seen this is going on. So do you think you need help? We can help you, or befriend them, and guide them to assistance, because a lot of times they have undiagnosed mental health issues. And that's what we found out in this case that we are doing. He had bipolar disorder. So once he started taking medication, once he started doing counseling, he was great. And he said, that's what I've seen growing up. A lot of these people, that's what they've seen growing up. He's like, I saw my dad hit my mom. My grandfather hit my grandmother. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
A cycle
It's-
that never stops.
Yes. And so now we are truly breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
By prevention education, we're truly breaking the cycle, because when we're telling people, when we're giving them what the signs of abuse are, and they realize, oh my God, I might be in an abusive relationship. But then where do you go from there? You don't want to break your relationship, and we don't want to break that relationship. We want to make it work. So you know what? You can make it work. That's what we want to tell people, that even if you are going through a tough situation, a toxic situation, there are steps, there are methods that you can take to make it better.
Right.
And if it doesn't get better, then of course you separate, right? You become, but at the end of the day, you still have to talk to each other because of the kids. If you have children together. So toxicity during a divorce is the worst thing, because what those children go through after the divorce, if those parents still hate each other and they can't communicate with each other, is horrendous.
Yeah.
And we have so many examples, so many situations where once the kids are older, they go into drugs, they go into the wrong crowd because they don't feel safe with their mom or their dad. Before, there wasn't safety in the home. Now they're separated, they don't feel safe because of the fact that the mom will talk about the dad, or the dad will talk about the mom, and they don't want to hear it. They love them both.
Correct.
And so they look for outside influences, and then the parents are like, what do? They've lost them already. So when they're young, that's why with the roadmap, it's so profound, because even if they don't end up staying together, they learn to communicate better, to raise better and healthier children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, like we are talking about within our community, and there are so many challenges, right? Because not only with, I guess, our culture. So, what are the many challenges do y'all face when y'all, in with the community trying to help?
So one of the challenges right now we're trying to focus on is engaging more men, because a lot of times they don't want to talk about mental health problems, they don't want to talk about family problems, they don't want to talk about anything. And we didn't even know June was men's mental health month. Like whenever you bring topics up to guys, they're like, no, it's fine, like leave it at home, like. But we're trying to engage them and try to talk about their problems so we can solve communication issues and solve really big issues that hurt their marriage and hurt their family. So that's one of our big ones that we're working on.
Okay.
I just feel like, honestly, within our community, there are so many cultural stigmas against things like mental health, domestic violence, or even just communication, right? A lot of times, especially I feel like with an older generation of like the South Asian community, it's very just like, just stop, we don't talk about it. If you're
Shove
having
it under the
problems
rug.
in your marriage, be patient, everything will be fine, it's just a test. So a lot of times we get sucked into just believing that, right? That, okay, no, it's temporary, and then unfortunately really, really bad things end up happening to these families, right? So like Marina said, I mean, men's mental health is something that nobody has, I think, ever really thought about discussing, right? And then it kind of gets to the point where, okay, we raise enough awareness on things like mental health and why mental health is so important. And slowly we just, get people to come in. And I think our number one goal right now is just to kind of get the younger generation to understand that, right? Like, you guys are the cycle breakers for the thinking of, okay, be patient, it's okay. And that, I feel like a lot of people think that just goes for women, but that goes for men as well. So that, I feel like, is our number one issue right now, is just kind of getting the men to understand that their mental health is also very, very important, right? That their side of the marriage is also very important. Their side of parenting is very important. So I think that's probably one of our main focuses right now.
The
Yeah.
stigma of men reporting abuse is so huge in our culture, in our communities. Like, man up, stand up for it. You have this man box where they're not supposed to show their emotions. They're not supposed to cry. They're not supposed to, let out that anything bad is happening. And so it's so hard for them to come up and talk about it. And that's how the engaging men are going to help, because they're like become friends, right? It's like, no, you're not talking, you're not suddenly going to a professional. First, you're getting that help that you need from a friend who's trained, and then they pass them on to the professionals when they're ready.
Correct.
You know?
Because we've always portrayed men as tough,
Yes.
right?
And domestic
So-
violence itself is a big challenge,
Right.
because our mosques, our communities do not want to hear that term. So if we go to a masjid, or if we go to anywhere in the community and say, okay, we want to do a program on domestic violence, nobody's going to show up. But if we talk about healthy families, communication, that's how we
Yeah,
can-
you're spinning it a positive
you're spinning it in a
way.
positive way, because they're like, no,
Perfect,
we don't
yeah.
have anything to do with domestic violence. We're totally fine. Like,
That problem doesn't happen.
that
in our
problem doesn't
homes.
happen to
Doesn't
us.
exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in our community,
Yes.
basically, right? We want to portray everything as being perfect.
Perfect.
So, and that's not the case. And I think that's why the more we talk about it, the more we normalize conversations, we raise that awareness and kind of like get people. And I think things are changing,
Yes.
slowly but surely, for sure. So, that's a good sign.
Absolutely.
That's great that we are able to, as a community, as an organization, as a family, we're all able to really get together and talk about it, make that difference together. So,
Absolutely.
all right, so let's go on a short break, and when we return, we will continue our conversation. This is Chai Time on 99.5 FM. Welcome back to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. We are in conversation with the team from An-Nisa, and it's been such a eye-opener for so many things. We are talking about domestic violence, we're talking about mental health, making change in the community, and the time went by so fast, the half hour. So let's just dive right back in, and Marina, I'll give the mic to you.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about our bill that we just passed,
Okay.
SB 855, and it's about so judges, you don't think that they go through trauma, or they don't understand a lot of family violence or things that happen in the home. Like, we were able to pass a bill that gives them exclusively 1 hour of training of just domestic violence. So they have 12 hours of training originally, and then we just added one more, so 13 hours for the whole year, and that trains them to understand kind of red flags and victims and what's going on, like exactly what Sadaf said, like that they kind of like take back their statements, like why they don't want to talk about domestic violence in their home. So we just had an amazing opportunity, and it got passed, and the governor signed it.
Wow.
So it was awesome.
Yeah. It's good to see that, when a bill like that gets passed, all the hard work, right?
Yes. All the
yeah.
months that we worked, we were just so blessed. And then now we're working with doctors and prosecutors to do the same training about trauma and try to focus and kind of just spread awareness of what we're trying to do. And that is to help them understand what victims go through with domestic violence. And so far we're doing great, and it's been successful. In the next coming months, we're gonna have a few more good opportunities to train.
So it's really amazing, because you'd be surprised the change that can be made when you change people's perceptions.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything we see through the lens of our perception.
Correct.
Just like when I was saying we're becoming trauma informed, we put our trauma glasses on. And then we see, okay, like if somebody's acting badly in school, or somebody's doing that, and then you put your trauma glasses on. Okay, what has he been through to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that same way, what we're doing is we're trying to train people that come across, that may come across victims of domestic violence. For example, doctors, OBGYNs, family physicians, right? They're the ones that have that one-on-one with people. And so if somebody's going through a tough situation, sometimes, like in domestic violence, you get isolated. Your husband does not let you talk to other people. They stop letting you go out with your friends. That's a big red flag. That's a big part of some of the things that happen in abuse. And it's called isolation. So, and they're not able to talk to friends, or they're not able to talk to their family. somebody they are able to talk to is their doctor. Right? They can't stop them from going to the doctor many times. And so a lot of our referrals have been from doctors, actually. That, hey, this person's going through this, or they notice that the husband sits at every doctor's appointment, and the way they're talking, and then, suddenly it's like there's physical violence, there's bruises. So so we decided that it's a good idea to train the doctors to identify these signs of abuse, to be able to get them the resources and the help they need early on before it becomes a situation where they're fleeing.
And I think so, going off of what Sadaf has said about just kind of outreaching to doctors' offices and stuff. So what we've actually done is created a very, very simple checklist. We put it in a very aesthetically pleasing frame, and we were sending it out to doctors' offices. And basically what this checklist asks is your relationship unhealthy? Because I think the term domestic violence a lot of times makes people shut down internally, right? So I think just kind of switching that language and saying, is your relationship unhealthy? Meaning, are you isolated from friends and family? Are you not able to have a job if you want to have a job? Are you kind of cut off from finances? You don't know what's going on, right? So these are just some things that are on that checklist. And what the bottom portion says is that if you have even checked off one of these, your relationship might be unhealthy. So give us a call if you are thinking that you may need help in your relationship. So we don't automatically jump to okay, domestic violence, divorce, right? It's more so, how can we keep your family together? And doctors' offices would just be the first way to do that, because I feel like most women would go into their OBGYN or their primary care physician and feel very safe in knowing that they can talk to a medical professional about what's going on with them personally as well. So it's just a good way to get, I guess, a light bulb to go off in their head of maybe I am in need of assistance.
And it's very important to understand that there's no one specific profile for either abusers or the abused. You think that abusers are these villainous people who are socially outcast and stuff like that. But you would be surprised that most abusers are very charming. They're very popular in society. A lot of our clients' husbands were people would be wait, that doesn't seem like it could happen. That could never happen, because they're closeted, right? They have a different personality at home and they have a different personality outside. So they're very popular, they're charming, and you would be so surprised. And so you don't assume that it can happen there. Same way with victims. You think that it's some bichari, oh my gosh, she must be getting beaten up and that's a victim. But no, victims are very brave. They're very strong. They're strong, independent women. But it's just that they've gotten into that, that relationship, and they want to try to keep it. And, that becomes I guess, a blind spot for them. And so a lot of times, and, they do speak up, but that doesn't make their abuse any less. They're going through it, and they're trying to speak up, and they're trying to but sometimes their families don't give in with them, or they don't have that support. And even if they do have that support, that abuse still affects them just as much. Whether you're educated, whether you're not educated, whether you're strong, whether you're weak, abuse affects you just as strongly.
And I think for both units of the family, right, whether it be the husband or the wife, when they come into An-Nisa, we don't necessarily ask them what's wrong with you, right? It's more so of a what has happened to you kind of question. So it's not necessarily placing blame on the victim or the abuser, right? Because 9 times out of 10, the abuser has seen abuse himself or herself, right? We're not necessarily just saying abusers are only men. There are definitely women who are abusers as well. And so I think that's definitely something that needs to be clarified, especially within South Asian communities. Women are abusive. Men are not only the only ones that are abusers.
Intimate partner violence, intimate partner homicide has doubled in the last 3 years. And almost 80% of the homicides that have happened were with guns. And do you know that almost 40% did not have a history of DV? So 60% had a reported history of domestic violence. Now, what does this mean? This could be that they weren't reporting it also.
Yes.
Yes, you can say that they didn't have any DV, But they could have had a lot of DV. It doesn't just suddenly somebody just decides to like shoot you or kill you, right? There has to be some sort of history, but it's not being reported. Those are the people we want to get to, because they want that. We have to make a safe space for them to come and at least speak about what's going on, because that is what can save lives. When I saw the statistic that 40% do not have of homicide, intimate partner homicide, does not have reported DV. That's so huge if you think about it.
Disturbing, for sure.
What they must have been going through without talking about it. And anybody can be in danger,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true.
It's just scary.
Wow. So, An-Nisa is a strong advocate for family violence, for mental health. How do y'all go about reaching out? Like, I know y'all go to mosque, y'all have a lot of their programs, but to reach out to the bigger community, to out there, what other things do y'all do?
So we have a Facebook Live Let's Talk program that we have
Okay.
like once a month, where we talk about taboo issues and we talk about different things like that. We have a helpline, 24-hour helpline that people can call, and we have a lot of partner agencies. We've partnered with a lot of community agencies, including, like, for example, Catholic Charities Alliance, you know, interfaith ministries, like all of these different, like when we were working with refugees and stuff too, we've gotten to know a lot of the, and of course all the domestic violence agencies, Harris County Domestic Violence Council, Houston Area Women's Center, that all of these different organizations, we like partner with them. So it helps because we get out, like, whatever, if there's anything going on, we ask them, like, we share a lot of clients, or we'll be like, what's going on, how do we help the client in the best possible way. So with even legal services, all of these different partners. Another thing is that we have a lot of community outreach going on. We try to, go to different, just like we're doing doctors trainings or lawyers trainings, that's actually doing community outreach, right? Because those people will go out to their circles of influence, just like we have the engaging women and the engaging men. So it's a very grassroots type of campaign that we're doing, because we're going to the individual with what matters, so that they can spread it to what matters more.
Yeah. And I think outside of just like what we do for the community, we have a lot of family type programs, right? So once a year, we have a huge family conference. We bring in some pretty amazing speakers who are professionals on topics like family violence or mental health, or just like overall maintaining the peace in your home kind of thing. So once a year we do that. We have about 600 attendees, and we always get those people to outreach to their kind of networks as well, right? Just saying that, hey, if you didn't know, there is an organization that's available that can just help you live a happier life in general, right? And then we have a lot of offline channels as well, meaning like, just printing out like a brochure of our services and leaving it in grocery stores, leaving it in mosques, leaving it in community centers. So that, I feel like, is where a lot of our outreach comes from, right? Because there's a lot of people who are not necessarily on social media, or who don't have access to social media. So that's what we've began doing, is just kind of thinking of the people who don't necessarily have a way to pick up a phone and contact us, right?
An-Nisa has a lot of emergency relief too. We are always there on the ground. When the winter freeze happened, we were there with blankets, hot meals to the different apartment complexes that had lost electricity for 3 days. So we were going in and giving them hot meals. We were going in and giving them blankets, sweaters. Like, literally, we had the warehouse opened up. Like, we called him, and he was like, we had him open up the warehouse at night and like got everything and gave it to them, because people were turning blue. With COVID, we had like a whole sign up going out to anybody who was pregnant or who was a senior, and we were getting groceries delivered, because we have like a huge volunteer base. So we had groceries delivered to them. We had medicines delivered to them. We had people calling seniors. We had a call bank set up. So we have a lot of volunteers that immediately come to the forefront whenever there's an emergency situation. So that's why An-Nisa's name is like out there in that community, in our community, because they know that whenever there's an emergency situation. So that is also a form of outreach, because like they know us, they feel safe with us, they trust us.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Now, I wanted to touch on the Strong Youth program.
So, as you know, building the healthy families, obviously the kids are affected. So we want to focus on our kids. We want to empower them. We want to teach them leadership skills. We want them to be confident. We want them to learn to set boundaries also. So a lot of educational, Sadaf has some parenting classes that she does on Saturdays. Where the parents are being taught on how to build their relationships with their children, especially the teenagers, right, from middle school to high school kids. And then we also do a lot of educational seminars for even like older kids going to college or needing help with resume writing or applying for jobs. We give them direction. We have resources that, a lot of partnerships that we do have. So we guide them, we direct them, and find them the help that they need, because they are the future. So they need the help and direction, that they need to be successful.
And our Strong Youth program is like basically for children between 12 and 25. And what we try to do is we're trying to create a safe space for the youth to be able to talk about what they're going through. Because a lot of times they can't talk to their families, they can't talk to their parents. There's a generational gap. So we have we have youth counselors. We have like a youth director about to get on board. And so what we're doing is we're trying to create, give them space with professionals there to be able to. There's so many issues the youth are going through, from bullying to peer pressure for drugs, drinking, all of these kind of things that they're going through. And you would be so surprised at the suicide ideation that's increasing, especially in the Desi youth. And actually, people are committing suicide too. It's like they're going through with it, following through with it as well. And it's just really scary. The mental health issues that the youth are going through is huge right now. I can't emphasize it enough. It is so detrimental unless something happens, unless something is done, which is what we're trying to do. But we need everybody to work on this, because the youth are getting lost. They're losing their religion. They're losing their identity. They don't know, because it's a follow culture. Yeah. Everything is about following. So it's like the next big thing on TikTok or Instagram. You're just learning to like or follow or check. Oh my God, what does my picture look like? There's no self-confidence in anyone anymore, because obviously you're going to see flaws in yourself if you're taking a selfie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's so, and for us as it's very hard because it's very new. Yes, every generation there's new things that come out, right? But the astronomical way that things are changing, because the way this world has become so small, because it's in the palm of our hands, literally. Right? Our phone has everything. So it's just it requires a whole different outlook. And that's why we wanted to make sure that we held the youth together, that we make them understand that, you can talk about your problems here and nobody's gonna disrespect you. Nobody's gonna condemn you for it. You can have your opinions, and let's work on how we can fix things, how we can make it better, how can we make your families better, like the toxicity, how can we make your communities better, how can we make your schools better. And the youth are the ones that are going to lead this. Yeah. They are the ones.
So Strong Youth was, when we had launched Strong Youth, we had said that the tagline for it forever is going to be by the youth for the youth. So every single program that Strong Youth comes up with, every Strong Youth program that's launched is from either teenagers or young professionals, because we were like, we can't have adults deciding what the youth need, right? And adults meaning 25 and older. We were like, we don't know what's going on. We're quite disconnected from what's happening with the youth, right? So we brought in a team of amazing, I call them trailblazers, because they have such innovative ideas and stuff that they're like, no, this is what our age group needs. So actually coming up, I think in this weekend, actually, if I'm not mistaken, they're doing a girls therapy circle. And what they've done is they've gotten, like the fancy coffee shops. So they've gotten coffee from them just so there's like that, that like level of, oh, we're going to drink like Camarilla coffee today. And it's going to be facilitated by a mental health professional. We have marketed as a safe space for girls to come and just discuss the things that are important to them or discuss the things that have been bothering them. So it's like, I feel like there's such a personal touch to it, right? Because the youth are creating their own programs because, again, like they know what they need.
Yeah, I love that idea.
And also, the children from our clients, those people are the silent victims. What children go through in a domestic violence household, because as caseworkers, what we do is we talk to the children of our clients first. We make sure they have our numbers. We have youth counseling for them because it's not just the woman that needs that help. It's those children because they're going through, they're losing somebody either way. And you have this ideal version of what your father or what your mother should be like, right? And so whatever's happening in the home, the effects on them, they become silent. And so we work with them too. We had done like enrichment classes for them, like art therapy, creative writing to try to get them out before, because the counselors were saying that, they're not always able to talk about what their issues are right away. And so when they learn to express themselves through art or writing, then they're able to express themselves verbally more too. So we try to come up with these innovative programs for our clients' children. We have a tutoring academy because, the problems in home might affect their school. So we have tutors, one-on-one tutors we can place them with. We have different, we can't say that this is one thing that we do because we just basically frame things according to what's needed at the time. So if a client, if their child needs, for example, for the summer, for childcare, we paid for summer camp for a lot of these kids to go to so that they're not at home, just, doing whatever while their mom is working, because single moms have to work. Correct. So for all our clients, we paid for summer camp in the YMCA, at Islamic schools, wherever they wanted to go for summer camp, we paid for it. To make sure that they're in an environment that's helping them grow, not making them just on their phones.
Correct. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my, we're almost short of time, but I really wanted to ask you all, how can the community get involved?
Oh, great. That's a wonderful question. We are always looking for volunteers. We have volunteer forms on our website, annisa.org. And we, if you have an idea, we will make it happen.
Yes.
And and we have so many different departments that you can help with, whether it's youth, whether it's financial, whether it's domestic violence, there's always something that we need help with, and emergency relief, anything. So get on our website, fill out that form, come into our office, get in touch with any of us. We will find something that you would love to do. I can tell you, guarantee it.
So we also have an Instagram page that is at An-Nisa Houston, and we're also on Facebook as An-Nisa or An-Nisa Hope Center. You can find us at either one. So you can totally just shoot us a message. You don't even have to go like on the website. If you can't find the volunteer form, just send us a DM and let us know that you'd like to participate in our programs or you would want to sign up as a volunteer. Our social media coordinators can definitely guide you guys in the right direction.
That's wonderful. So before we wrap up, I'd like you all to give a message to our listeners. Let's start with you, Marina.
A message to our listeners. I just want to say thank you all for listening, and please sign up for An-Nisa and volunteer with us. We are so lucky to have such an amazing community, and if you know anyone who is in trouble or needs help, please call us on the helpline. Our number is on the website, and then we can also give it to you on the Facebook page as well.
Thank you.
So I would just like to say, like going off of what Marina said, right, that if you or a loved one is in an an abusive situation or even just a general unhappy situation, that help is always available to you. So I know a lot of times people end up feeling stuck, like they don't know where to go. So contacting An-Nisa is definitely step one. We can always guide anybody in the right direction. So our helpline number is actually 832-324-9111. But like Marina said, you can also find it on our website. And just know that help is always available to you, but also our community, I think, is always available to you as well. An-Nisa has built such an amazing community of just strong and empowered women whose number one goal is to empower women and men. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Wow, I think they said it all pretty much. But I always live by this motto, and I want to just to put it out there. It's very generic, but do what you can with what you have where you are. That's it. And and if that means reaching out to An-Nisa to help that happen, please do, because we make that happen. We do make change happen. That I can say.
I don't have anything else left to say. Thank you all for coming and joining us and watching this show, and we are looking forward to hearing from you guys soon.
Wonderful. That's a great way to end. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for, joining me on Chai Time. This is the first time I got to meet y'all and learn about An-Nisa, and I just love the passion y'all have and all the selfless work y'all are doing. To each one of you, I mean, we really appreciate each one of you, and we thank you for your service. This is so nice, and it's been a great hour spending with y'all, and I hope y'all will come back on Chai Time again.
Thank you for having us. We didn't even get to talk about any client stories.
So there's so much else to do next time. Thank you, listeners, for joining us here on Chai Time. We shall see you next week, same time, same place. Signing off, Chai Time on 99.5 FM.